Hi folks, welcome back to the Horde. About 11 o'clock, let's see, June 3rd, Monday, 73 degrees. I'm back in the garage trying to figure out what's going on with this 185, but in the meantime, just quickly, kind of an overcast day. We got some rain last night. One of the things I got in the Horde was this solar powered it's a solar powered or light powered thermostat thermometer, and I thought that was really cool. There's a guy at the flea market that rebuilds cases. He remodeled how does one say the cases like in supermarkets and delis and so forth like that. He gives them a facelift. A lot of times the cases are fine. It's just they get ugly as time passes. So he's got his own business, and they send him out with doors and new lighting and various things to make the cases look, though they might be old and ugly in the back, and if you took all the product out, maybe they're old and ugly, but the doors look good again, and the lighting looks good, and the cosmetics that the customer sees looks good. Well, he's the one who I get the caster wheels for, with those little extensions. Those extensions go under the cabinet so that they can roll them around, and when he does a remodel, they give him the cabinet on wheels, and then obviously he rolls a new one in, rolls the old one out, disposes of or puts the old one wherever they want him to put the old one, and then he's got to get rid of everything, which includes the wheels. He also comes up with these really cool LED strip lights. I don't know if you've looked in coolers lately, but when you open the door, the lighting is now, instead of fluorescent or incandescent, they have these LED strip lights. Very efficient. It doesn't put a big heat load back into it and all that. So I got a bunch from him, and he's going to get me a bunch more. One of the cool things about the flea market is when you go there and you see some of the interesting things people have, you talk to them, and you kind of get a little bit of a story, and you realize that there's a different world out there, not just the one we all live in. But anyway, trivia, sorry. All right, back to this beast. I pulled the wiring harness completely out, and I probed it from one end to the other and made sure I had no leakage between any wires, all the way up at the 20 meg scale or 200 meg scale in the meter, so I have no leakage. And I made sure ground was good, and I had no wires as I twisted and torqued them that were opening and shorting to other wires. So I took care of all that. So the harness is really, really nice. So we're all good there. Then I went back to the stator harness, so to speak. And you see this wire here, the bottom wire. You got the one with the red stripe, you got the yellow, and then you got the bottom green. So I say to myself, okay, that's ground. And I hook up to it, and I check to the engine case. And it's opened. I'm like, opened? What the hell is this doing opened? So then I take the stator out, and I'm looking at it, and I realize that the green and the yellow, right, these two wires only go to the coil for the lighting, right? That the only wire that comes out of the stator, out of the stator thing, that does anything from an ignition point of view is one side of this thing, right? This black wire with the red collar on it goes to one side of the coil. The other side of the coil goes to this, which goes to engine case, and that's it. There's no neutral, or there's no ground that comes out of the stator area. Nothing. So now I'm looking at it and I'm going, wow, the only way this entire harness gets grounded is through this one lug. Where'd we go? This one lug up by the coil. That's it. That's all. That's the only ground for this entire harness. So the only way this harness picks up any ground from the motor is if this is hooked up properly to the body, right? And it's screwed in right here by the coil. So this coil sits here like that, and you got a screw that goes through there, and it kind of rubs against this. And now you're counting on the screw, the wire lug rubbing against this, going through the screw and rubbing against that and rubbing against this. That's the only way that the harness sees body ground. Well, you kind of need body ground to go through here to get a good pulse out of this thing. You need body ground to have a good hookup between the coil and this to get the spark to the engine, right? I mean, these things all got to be together. So I'm looking at this thing going to myself, son of a bitch, if that ground isn't like the greatest ground in the world, and I don't mean a little shaky, I mean it's got to be like a rock solid ground, my case will not be hooked up to the outside world. I was like amazed. So I couldn't believe that was truly the case. So I checked that engine and I checked the engine that came off of it, and it turns out that green wire, though it's a green wire and you assume it's ground, or I assumed it's ground, maybe you guys didn't assume anything, or maybe you really don't care and you're just listening to me babble, but I assumed this green wire, which is this green wire, is hooked to ground, and it's not, and it's not meant to be. The only ground is this guy here. So I've had a couple of people write to me and say, check that ground, and I've been putting it on there and, smashing it on there fairly well, right? When I torque, this guy down, oops, where are we here? When I torque this down and torque this guy down, I'm like, yeah, I'm good. But maybe I'm not good. Maybe maybe my entire problem, I tore the entire butt out of this thing for that. Because I'm even looking up here in the headlight bucket, and there's no additional way it picks up ground. So, maybe I have it, and maybe the folks who have warned me, and I got it more than once, that, stop screwing around. What I might just do, I might cut this off, and what I'm going to do is splice a double pair to it, and so this will go up by the coil, and then maybe I'll run it somewhere else and nail it hard down to ground. Maybe I'll go on both sides of the coil, so to speak. I'll put one lug here up against the body, then the coil, then the other lug, then the bolt, or maybe I'll put it on this side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean the heck out of this to make sure she really hooks up to ground. According to my meter, this case is hooked to ground, and you would look at it here, up here, down there, and both sides, so particularly up here, you got case right to body. Here you go case to plate to body. Down here though, you go straight to body. So maybe that's my problem. Now that I've completely torn this thing to cinder, I got to put it back together again. Let's hope this fixes it, because I see absolutely nothing else. The harness appears good. And now that I've checked out the harness, and I mean completely checked it out, I spent about a half hour, with every combination and wiggling the wires and so forth. If this isn't it, I'm really, really scratching my head, because I've been through every piece, and I've gone through the verifying of every piece. Once again, I've not only changed the stator coil, the primary coil, but I verified it's not leaking to anything, that it's hooked up properly, that it's all proper in there. I mean, I know it is because I checked it, and I own the information because I checked it and rechecked it and triple checked it. The spark coil, the ignition coil, I used the 9-volt battery to make sure it actually sparks. The CDI, I've had 3 different CDIs in it, including a China one. So that's not it. We talked about the harness. I've had the original pickup and the new pickup in it. And if it was kind of, I'm poking around with a shaky part, you would think that it would improve or and it just, for everything I've messed with, everything I've screwed with, I really haven't changed anything. So, one thing that I have noticed, though, a couple of times when I've had the coils in and out, I've changed the coils in and out, that suddenly it would fire up and then die, fire up and die. So maybe it's been trying to tell me that that's where I do have my problem. Or maybe when I take the when I take the CDIs in and out, I'm kind of fooling around up in that area, which helps. Or maybe the CDI builds up a charge on it, such that when it goes to fire, I'm not completely discharging it. Well, if I don't completely discharge the CDI, that means I'm not putting the full potential, the full voltage into that coil. So maybe I've had a floating ground situation all along. So all the folks out there who've told me, "Hey, stupid, you probably have a floating ground situation, or a weak ground, or that wire really matters," maybe I should be paying a little more attention to it. All right, folks, if that fixes it, there has been something good that's come out of this. I've learned a horrible lot about the ignition system on these things. I feel like I can put them together in my sleep. I've learned about timing them. I know a load about that now. So I really feel as if I know the electricals on a 185 inside and out, that I got the diagrams basically memorized. So, I guess the title of this video is "Sometimes a Ground Isn't Always a Ground." Anyway, folks, live, love, and have a great time. We'll catch you on the next time. And once again, watch your grounds. Maybe it's something that simple. Thanks, folks. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And thanks for commenting.